Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for making the trip. And we are, of course, as was mentioned earlier, we're back in the online cycle. And let's see. Well, for those of us who are, for any of us who are out in the hinterlands. But in any case, here we are. We have been working on our various projects for the last month, and so much is happening around us that I can hardly keep my head above water. I pay probably too much attention to everything that's going on around us, but here we are working with what we got. The meeting this month, we can start with a vote on the acceptance of last month's minutes. Is there any comment or question or amendment to the minutes that anybody wants to bring up now that hasn't been already? No.
I'll make a motion.
All right, thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Bill and Colleen, thank you so much for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody not? Okay, so there we go.
Kara would like to make a brief announcement about the
Please.
repair.
Karen, you're up.
Okay. I didn't know for me to do that now. I don't think I'm a voting member.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Maureen.
Oh, well, we can do it whenever you're ready. I didn't know if Michael had seen that. And I believe
I saw the text message that got passed around. Yes.
you are a voting member. I don't. It ends. You'll carry over. It'll probably be retro. I'll confirm that with the trees. We still have a quorum though, because I saw Carol Smiley came. Welcome, Carol.
All right.
Yeah, I don't need to interrupt your flow, Michael.
Oh no, that's fine. But you had an announcement.
Yeah, if possible.
Now that you're up. Might as
I
well
thought
do
I
it.
wasn't a voting member, so I made plans for this evening. So I have to sign off at 7.
Okay.
But no, I just briefly let everybody know that, and Bruce can probably echo what we've been working on. So there's 4 towns in a village that have collaborated to host a series of repair cafes. And I think by now, most of you have heard about repair cafes. And so it's the town of New Lebanon, Canaan, Chatham, Austerlitz, and the village of East Nassau, which is technically in Rensselaer, but that's okay. We welcome them. And the Repair Cafe will be on October 23rd. I'll send you all a draft of the press release and some the interim flyers that we've been using. We will be altering the flyer just a bit after next week because we are fine-tuned the pool of fixers that we have. So we'll be able to kind of announce what you can expect to get repaired or what we will attempt to repair if you come on October 23rd. So that's been going on. It's, we've been working pretty hard, and I think we're well on our way to our first repair cafe. So that's
Wonderful. Have you identified any particular repairers that might fill in a gap that some of our rest of our members might know about?
Good point. So we have a couple carpenters, woodworkers that will be able to fix broken wooden items, whether it be small furniture, etc. And we have a few folks, several in fact, that are good with small electrical repairs. So the old broken lamp or the toaster, or any, of course, if it has a circuit board, that becomes a whole nother conversation. But so we have electrical pretty much under wraps, and we have several seamstress / darners and knitters that can repair your grandmother's mittens or darn that trusty pair of socks that you put on every winter. And actually, Bruce should probably be speaking to this. And I think we have a need for a knife sharpener.
I don't know about that. We have a jeweler. We have someone who will repair jewelry as well. That's a new addition. Yeah.
Bike repair.
Mhm.
Bike repairs also. That's correct. We definitely have the bike repair
And
the jewelry.
possibly small motors, handy types. But I think Bruce, what are we looking for besides?
No. I mean, I think we're pretty much set. There's people that'll glue your ceramics as well. Good gluers we have. I think we're pretty well covered. I mean, the whole thing is going to be like an experiment, really, because this is our first one, and we're hoping for the best, and we have to use strict COVID protocols, so there may be a little bit of restriction because it's going to be indoors because of the weather, we're assuming. No, I think we're pretty well covered, and the thing is, we don't want to do repairs that take more than 20 minutes because the whole thing is only for a day, and so any kind of repair that makes sense that it's small. The seamstress, the electricity, and the wood repair would be the three main ones, and the bike repair as well.
And just as a footnote, Tim Firstnow, who is running the tool library over at the Basilica, is also volunteering as a fixer, but also hoping to get the word out about the tool library. If you all haven't heard about the tool library, it's now open. And you with a prorated annual membership, you can borrow a tool that they have in their inventory for a week as part of your membership. So again, these are all ways that we can divert items from going to the landfills and keep our cherished belongings and also come together. I think that's an important piece of this, is coming together, getting working on something, learning how to fix a lamp. I mean, if I knew how to do that, I'd probably put a sign out of my front yard. I don't know, but it's just, and also encouraging youth to come out to these events is an important part of its success. So thanks, Michael.
Oh, you're welcome. No, I love these things. I have a coffee grinder that I accidentally froze up with because I didn't clean it for a long time. Got stuck, and the guy down in Kingston sat with me for quite a while, and finally got it running again. So,
awesome!
I mean, that was just my such things, but it's a fun event. And are people from anywhere in the region invited?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. It's we're sponsoring it, but it's definitely for the whole region. And in fact, I noticed one of our fixers just joined one of our fixers.
Yes.
Great. Well, I think that aspect of it ought to be underlined in some way in the flyers to make sure people feel welcomed to the event, that it's not just the residents of those cooperating towns.
Yeah, we're just starting the PR. I think Kara's running it. I don't know if you're in charge of it.
I've got the press release in several locations, and it does say all are welcome, I think, and it's free.
Sure.
It's accepted, but it's free. We'll actually have Angus Eaton from Chatham that will be running to the hardware store if we need supplies. So, it's been a great effort, and it's particularly good to have towns collaborating. If we go back 100 years, to towns have their issues between one another, so it's just good to have towns collaborating on a common cause.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks, Karen, Bruce. Do we have any news about the Solarize programs in Columbia County?
Well, do you mean the regular solarized for the county, or the Land Conservancy is doing webinars that Christine
yes.
announced? That I think Wednesday night is the first one.
Exactly. Well, I hope any of you who are in towns that are thinking of the way that especially the way that towns are dealing with the land use issues of large scale solar installations will enjoy participating in these events, which is going to be more and more important as we go on. And thinking about it ahead of time is the key to accommodating it or opposing it as you wish. But the point is that any sort of land use law or regulation that you have needs to be thought of ahead of time. Great. I see that we have.
I'll make a quick announcement.
Please.
On behalf of the town of Austerlitz, they are going to launch a Solarize campaign November 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And town of Chatham will be winding down probably around the same time. So another month for the town of Chatham and the village of Kinderhook. Bill, you want to say anything? Bill's been coming out and doing lots of stuff for the village of Kinderhook and farmers markets and community night. We've gotten, I think, 15 enrollments in Kinderhook. So
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, so we started the campaign officially September 4th, but we really started August 28th at the farmers market. So, and in addition, I just want to say the village did get 2 bids for the solar installations on the buildings, the DPW garage and the firehouse. So next month, they're going to have a vote on which one of the bids they're going to take after 2 years of waiting. That was money we got for our clean energy community program with the 4 action items way back.
Wonderful.
Finally spending the money.
All right, for a good cause. All right, thanks a bunch. David Newman, would you like to say a few words about where we're at in the County Climate Smart Communities program?
Sure. I just have a question. Well, I'll explain where we're at with a few different actions in general with the coordinator. But well, I'll start with that. We passed a recommendation, the task force, to the Board of Supervisors. Must have been 2 months ago. I don't have the exact date in front of me to move forward with a county-wide Solarize campaign. It must have passed the Board of Supervisors a month or longer ago. I think 2 months ago, maybe a month ago. We drafted an RFP, which then was sent to the controller's office, and it sits. And there it sits. And we've been told that the county attorney has signed off on it verbatim, like as it was. It's fine. It's a New York State program. There's no purchase involved by the county. So, but it's still there. And so we are in a holding pattern, and we're trying to push forward. But it's budget season, and there's not a there's not enough urgency, I would say, in getting through, because we stand ready, the task force, to carry the water here. So I have a question for the Kara and Bill and others that have been involved in their own town solar campaigns. We've heard that the capacity, perhaps Sarah knows this at a state level, the capacity of a lot of these solar providers in terms of installed or planned capacity is low or reducing, and that what they have available in terms of incentives for customers through these Solarize and for the municipalities those incentives are diminishing. and there's some time sensitivity to this. And I just wanted to get any more information there from folks on to what extent that's true, and if there's any more information you can provide on the timeliness, the urgency, the lack of capacity, so that I can use that to try to urge things to move a little faster.
Well, I can speak to it firsthand, David, but I don't know if we want to get into it on this conversation. But there is more demand than there is capacity. In certain territories of New York State, specifically Western New York and RG&E territory, where there's a lot of retired farms that were used for solar development over the past 4.5, 5 years, that has created a situation, along with some pilot programs making community solar an opt-out program. So when you take, for instance, a city, a small city that agrees that they want to have community solar be opt-out, then everybody in that city is unilaterally enrolled in community solar. It completely devastates the pipeline for everybody else. So it's an ongoing issue with the Public Service Commission and various entities. But NYSEG, overall, National Grid has the biggest pipeline of projects over the next 2 years. Central Hudson has some projects that are coming on in Greene County and Ulster County. NYSEG has been an ongoing problem, but that has to do with the value of distributed energy resources, otherwise known as VEDR rates. So the value of the distributed energy coming to NYSEG has, and what NYSEG is willing to pay for that distributed energy has fallen. And this is combined with the fact that there was an incentive to developers called the market transition credit, was gobbled up sooner than I sort of anticipated. So many developers were not able to get that incentive for their projects, compounded by the value of this distributed energy in certain areas. So National Grid is doing okay, but if you go out to RG&E or NYSEG, many developers are reducing the savings percentage from 10% to 5%.
Okay.
And yep.
That's really helpful. Thank you. And I think it speaks to a broader point, which our demand is not ending with any of the community solar in our county, ending or diminishing. It's only going to increase. These are, I can't say they're early adopters, the subscribers that are signing up through these programs, because there's a lot of solar that's been developed over the last couple of decades. But they're earlier than the rest of us, and there'll be more demand. So I think about the dynamic of what's going on with Hecate and the lack of clarity from the environmental community on what is appropriate in terms of land use for solar. And as a long-term vision, I hope that we can kind of, these collective organizations, EMC being one of them, can come together maybe with state support and conduct a mapping exercise to try to figure out these sweet spots for locations within the county that make sense and will not lead to such controversy, or where that controversy can be avoided or mitigated before the publicity of the project gets out there. So anyway, that's just a hope. I know that there's a lot of work that has to happen there, but planting seeds. The other couple quick updates, if I may, there's a benchmarking resolution, an energy benchmarking resolution. That's another action that we passed around the same time. That's also caught up in the bureaucracy. The controller's office has, we've heard, released information on the building and their energy usage. We have volunteers standing by on the task force to work on both of these projects, the Solarize and the benchmarking, and to get that information into the database, the EPA database. And we're waiting on that information. It's a bit frustrating, as you can tell from my voice. The third, 4 little updates. The third is the environmental coordinator position for the county, as I've been talking about for many months there too. We still have an offer of a donation of private funds to support this position in whole or in part for quite a bit, up to $150,000 over 2 years or perhaps longer. And the good news is we're now in some fruitful discussions with a group of supervisors who are involved in the task force as to an MOU and a job description for what that would look like, and more to come very soon. We're meeting later this week, so hopefully we can make progress on that and move forward so we can hire someone. And that hopefully will alleviate some of these bottlenecks with these early actions. The last thing is on Thursday evening, there's a county-wide Zoom gathering of climate smart, clean energy, EMC representative that hopefully folks here have all heard about. If not, let me know. And it's really an update on what's happening at the county level and a listening session among the various groups throughout the various climate smart clean energy groups throughout the county, Conservation Advisory Council as well, to figure out, and there's some breakout sessions to figure out how we can best work together, how we can support each other, how we can bring resources together. I mean, the Repair Cafe is a great example of the model, of a specific example. We're going to take a broader look and then get back together. And hopefully we'll learn a lot from that. I think there's over 50 people registered. So it should be a fruitful discussion. And if you are interested in joining and you want to represent your town on the EMC and you haven't heard about this, let me know. We'll certainly be giving updates afterwards as to what we gathered from. So that's what's happening, or what I'm trying to make happen.
All right, keep on pushing, David. Thanks for your work. All right. Let's see, John, do we have anything to talk about in the zero waste category?
It looks like maybe he stepped away for a minute.
Okay. Right. Well, while he's coming back, what's the latest in the health of Columbia County?
Well, you can probably imagine by the fact that we're back to virtual again. Our 7-day average for the county of positivity rate is 7%. So we're up where we were in the thick of things last winter. We have 125 active cases, 430 people under quarantine. We've since we met last, we've lost 3 more of our residents. We're up to 102 deaths now. Today there were 21 new cases, so 3 people hospitalized. So it's, I asked the nurses, what are we seeing this from the schools? And she said pretty much every school district had some cases other than Chatham, which she thinks probably has a couple cases now too. There's other virus, there's RSV virus going around that's complicating matters. Yeah, so it goes. We're testing about 60 people in our back parking lot each week. So at times there's a traffic jam of cars coming in and out. So it's still out there. 98.8% of the cases now are Delta variant. So we're just waiting on these boosters, and hopefully they come out soon with a tweaked version that we can work on getting into people's arms. There's a couple flu clinics coming up. We had the first one, it's a drive-through. We did that out in Hillsdale last Saturday, and about 40 people attended. Oh, sorry about my cuckoo clock going on. There's October 16th, there's going to be one at Ichabod Crane in the front parking lot of the school from 9 to 11. And another drive-through flu clinic in New Lebanon at the town hall, October 23rd from 10 to 12 p.m. And then we're doing Oh, and this Saturday, I'm sorry, October 2nd, this Saturday from 9 to 11 again. And then we've got some rabies clinics coming up, the last couple for the year. October 6th, Claremont Town Park from 4 to 5 is cats, 5 to 6 is dogs. And then November 6th up in Kinderhook, 2 to 3 cats and 3 to 4 p.m. for dogs. And those are on our website, the ColumbiaCountyNYHealth.com, if anybody's looking for those. I attended the New York State Conference of Environmental Health Directors meeting in person they had up in Blue Mountain Lake a couple weeks back. And a couple things of note, they have formed a climate resiliency committee, a statewide committee of different state agency involvement. So, you know, at the higher levels than local, but they were asking for local counties representation. A gentleman who attended the conference they recently had, it was a 3-day fall seminar in Syracuse. He said the climate-related sessions that were offered were preparing the world for vehicle electrification, because that's coming in 2035, as we know, transforming New York's recycling system and product stewardship, which is helpful with the repair cafes. And so they're talking about these at the state level, all of these things. So it's not just us in a bubble. Understanding our environment, studying space, or studying Earth from space, green energy versus green space, exploring smart approaches to renewable energy siting that Dave was just talking about has been, you know, problematic at the local level at times. Meeting the nation's most aggressive climate targets, Climate Act update. And he had some really good PowerPoints and a lot of resources that he gave links to. So I'm gonna send them to Maureen, and she can send them out to everybody so you can peruse a lot of this information, because it's got a lot of good stuff. It's pretty, you know, if you got to weed through it all, but there's information on climate and health adaptation. There's a whole document that came out about that. So there's a lot of good tools, and land use and local government themes, and how to kind of work within the government structure to make these things move forward. So there's a lot of discussion about it at the state level, which is good to know. Just as a side note, there's the clean energy communities. Statewide, there's 610 participating and 336 designated communities that are actually designated climate smart. And collectively, there's been 1,992 actions completed. So, you know, slow and steady wins the race, hopefully. So there was that information, and let's see, I had a few other updates from the state Bureau of Epidemiology. They've had, let's see, 2 human cases of West Nile virus this year, Nassau and Westchester County. Nothing up here in that realm. The Lone Star tick is now apparently out competing the deer tick in New Jersey and Long Island, so that may be something we see here in the future. They're seeing a lot more anaplasmosis and babesiosis at this point. And statewide, they're regarding the PFAS and PFOA chemicals, they've been now, because the MCL has been set at 10 parts per trillion. So now they're starting to implement the sampling that's required for public water supplies. And statewide to date, they have found 136 exceedances of those chemicals in public water supplies around the state. In our county, we've had a couple very low-level detections, nothing over an MCL. So stay tuned for that. And they had a couple case studies at the conference of Chautauqua County, where they had a large detection. And they had, and it was from, I forget what they said. It was something to do with an athletic field, and something that they were doing on this athletic field. It was a fire company doing their training with their full foam and stuff on the athletic field that the kids use. well, it was getting into the groundwater source and contaminated the well sources for Mayville, New York. That's way out in Chautauqua. I'm not sure exactly where it is. And then they've had a large amount of PFAS contamination detected in Rockland County. So they've been dealing with that down there, and they have over 300,000 people that are served by their public water system. So, yeah, so that's all the info that I could gather for the time frame over. But
Well, thank you so much, Tara. Anybody have any questions about all that? All right. Well, let's hear it for clean water.
yeah, let's hope it stays that way.
Exactly. That's an insidious problem. That stuff, the
Sure
PFAS. It shows up in so many different places and has been.
Yeah, a lot of manufacturing uses that I never even thought about, and radio transistors, electronic manufacturing. So any places that used to have this thing going on, it's so persistent. It still lingers, even though the place may have been gone for years. You're still gonna find it around. So
Exactly. Okay, thanks so much. John, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm sorry, I had to step away.
Oh, no matter. That's fine. You're
Okay.
back.
Yeah.
I was thinking you might have something to say about the work of the zero waste folks.
Well, I'm going to hold off on it. I've been doing some research, and as much as I love to talk, I think I'm going to pass this time. Hopefully, I'll get some of this stuff together because I will mention just one thing. It was very instructive when Mike Tucker released all that data on broadband, because every town talks about, oh, we want to do something about broadband, and not many did, except a couple towns. But as soon as that data came out and said, here's all the people in your town who don't have broadband, then they get interested. So it just sort of makes a point about the relevance of having some data about what's going on, so you can say, well, what can you do? And I hope to have more information, maybe next month, so I can speak a little bit more to the point. And I'm hoping that at some point you're going to have Jolene brief us on the solid waste plan and maybe some of the data that she's collecting. I don't know.
Sure. Well, I'm on that committee, and I can reply that we had the kickoff meeting last week
Oh, great.
for the 10-year solid waste management plan for the county, which is going to be assisted by a consulting group from Albany who met with us.
Terrific.
A couple of their people and a couple of ours, and they gave us a list of all the information and data they need that would enable them to start doing their numbers and creating a kind of where we at right now report out of it that is consolidating all of that and starting to envision where we want to go with that, with the better understanding of where we have been. Jolene talked about the need to upgrade our existing transfer stations, especially the one in Greenport, which are showing their age, having been up for quite a few years, which will enable the county to do a better job of recycling and the beginning of a renewal of the work that the county could do in terms of composting. So that's not something that has a lot of specifics to report on yet, but it is all in the package here of what of the elements of a plan that will be part of will be put together.
That's great. I hope parts become public just so we can educate and orient ourselves. Even though it won't be
Sure.
completed. Yeah.
Right. Well,
I
I can be a channel for that certainly as
Cool.
these things become more specific stuff.
I was looking at the Ulster County, the UCRRA, the Research and
Yes.
Recovery, and they have been at it, and they haven't said we're working towards zero waste, and they've been at it for 30 years. And you look at towns like Austin, Bolton, and all, and they've been at it for decades, and no one says it's fast, but it's always good to have a goal. But the Ulster County presently for the 2020 plan assumes that on a per person basis in Ulster County, they have 186,000 people. They generate their people generate about just shy of 3 pounds of waste per day. So you multiply that by 365, and they're assuming that their people, Ulsterians, generate 1,095 pounds per year. And then you can multiply that. And so I've just wondered, I wonder what Columbia County is like. And anyways, I just think numbers are interesting to play with, because you wonder, what's really going on, and how does that change, and what are the processes? I was tempted to talk about how you use numbers in medical and healthcare, and maybe sometime I will talk a little bit about that, because it's very instructive to understanding the processes of what happens to these waste flows. Anyway, so I'd love to see more of that conversation, because like broadband, numbers allow you to think differently.
Exactly. Thank you. So somebody
Yeah.
had their hand up. I can't see it right now.
That was me, Michael.
Hi.
I just wondered if I'm getting a silly message on here. I was just wondering if the county would ever, include in any of this discussion, talk about waste to energy. Because
I don't get that impression, no. At least from what I've seen,
maybe it's a
hasn't been on the
topic
list,
that
but go
needs
ahead.
to start, maybe it's something that needs to start being discussed. I don't know. I don't know if we have enough waste, or if there's other communities where we're combining that. Maybe David knows something about it.
If we can take just a second to discuss the overall, the history of it, there are a couple of different communities in New York State that contracted many years ago for a waste to energy plant. And the contract says that the municipalities that are part of this consortium that is part of this agree to give us a certain amount of waste every month.
Right.
And that worked okay for a few years, but then populations changed, the mix of things going on industrially changed, and the waste that was able to be contributed dropped to below the threshold. So now the municipalities have to pay essentially to either import waste from other places, or to use natural gas or in some cases coal to fulfill the contractual obligation, because the entity that's doing this waste to energy has themselves obligated themselves to produce a certain amount of electricity. So the danger for any system like that is that the folks in the towns and counties wind up in a bind, that they're not able to produce enough waste, which is, of course, is kind of in contradiction to what we're talking about with zero waste and a
We need
circular
John's
economy
numbers.
and so forth. Exactly. But of course, the other problem with these things is that the gaseous byproducts, the stuff that goes up the stack from these things is a mixture of gases, carbon dioxide, of course, but also you have more and more plastic in the waste stream, and when that gets burned, the output is not very healthy. So
there are several examples of in Massachusetts and elsewhere. There's dairies are doing manure to gas, and Ron Knott has been there was that big dairy farm up in Stuyvesant was trying to do it, and that didn't work, but it's something that it would not be nice to see. And at the down at the Basilica, they have a little, they call it a horse, a small one. So they produce methane that can be burned, and they're using the waste, the organic waste from Kite's Nest and from all the events at Basilica. But that again is it seems to me that's a function of the collection of the organic stuff that could go into a biodigester like that. And it's a question of understanding the flows and how do you redirect them so that they don't end up in landfill or something. And
sure.
Again, it's a complicated planning process, and it's down the road, but it's a flow that you want to divert into energy,
exactly,
or something, and it's anyways.
It's
For the
something
moment,
new.
it's a fascinating conversation.
Right.
I think we all want to see it move beyond that.
Yeah, especially in the dairy business, there are. I mean, here in Columbia County, we don't have as big a cow population as you do in California and Wisconsin and places like that. And there are a number of different operations in California which do have anaerobic digestion systems that take cow manure, municipal sewage, and food waste and make it into methane, and then clean up the methane so that any of the other stray gases are filtered out, and then you can, if you want, a lot of entities just use it on the premises, but you can also pipe it out into the regular system. I think the question then becomes the numbers, is whether you have enough volume of compostable solid waste to make these things work. Christian, did you have something you were going to ask?
Well,
David wanted to say something.
I could just mention that exists in the capital region. There is a dairy there which has its own milk processing plant, and they are collecting food scraps, I believe also even reaching into Columbia County for their pickups. I know one organization or another is doing that. There's a smaller one in the capital region, and then there's one with a dairy which also has a milk processing plant, and they are using all of the produced methane to generate electricity and heat for their they provide all the electricity for the milk processing plant and for the dairy.
Right.
So there are, closer to and scale is also viable. And then David's had his hand up for a while.
Yeah, I was just going to add another opportunity, and I think a lot has been said about the potential side effect of burning or gasifying or pyrolyzing solid waste. And then there are trade-offs with manure, which is very valuable as a feedstock for compost, and we're trying to, through large industrial process, energy, or is it better just to use it as a compost to amend the soil? And that depends on, I think, the scale and your goals and the investment. But there's another area that should be thought of when we think about energy production, which is biogenic feedstock, such as wood waste, and the production of biochar, which is two different processes in waste, and is gasification, which is typically a higher temperature process, which burns more of the material. and leads to more ash, small amount of biochar that's not as ideal for soil amendment because of its high alkaline nature, and it produces more energy, which is why they use that process. The other process, pyrolysis, and the slow pyrolysis, which is usually done a few hundred degrees Celsius cooler, or not as hot, about 500 degrees opposed to 900 or 1,000 degrees. And that produces a more stable carbon, biochar, or charcoal that can be used as a soil amendment as a byproduct of the energy. You get less energy because you're putting more focus on the production of the char. We have a small scale unit. We make about 300 pounds a week on the farm here. And if anyone wants to come do a little show and tell as to what we're doing, we use it in our compost, and we use it in our tree planting and in our nurseries. We're going to have a product for sale next year. I'm not trying to promote our product. I'm just saying that there's an opportunity there. And there are a lot of challenges with all this. And we're engaged in a research project right now and looking at the efficacy of biochar from a soil health and tree productivity standpoint. And there's a lot of research to be done, technology and scale. So in order for us to really make this viable, you need to have the feedstock that supply a large economies of scale for a production facility. We're trying to figure that out. We're looking at that right now. Right now, we're using waste wood from melt for our biochar production. They have a lot more of that, but even that probably wouldn't be enough to justify a more advanced unit that would capture energy and heat. So it's CHP, combined heat and power with a biochar output. And I think there's a lot of opportunity with solid waste segregation, looking at construction waste. There's a lot of wood waste in the construction industry. It would probably require regulation to separate that, and there'd be some cost to contractors and others to have 2 dumpsters on site, for example. But there's a lot of opportunity there to gather that wood waste and use that as well. So it's not simple.
No, but worth following up on. That's
There.
certain.
And you have to be concerned about pressure treated lumber and what that off gases.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, a lot of possibilities. Is there next action in this regard? Does anybody see a opportunity to categorize this any further, or are we in a situation where we say, "Oh, that's interesting. Let's put it each in our file and be aware of it as it goes along."
Well, one area that could be useful is identifying funding for a grant to help plan some of these activities. I think I envision it as a public-private partnership between investors, businesses, who would look at investing in a large, not huge, but a significant pilot scale plant, melts lumber, and there's a lot of moving parts here in terms of education policy, a lot of stuff that's extraneous to what a business would itself take on typically. And so there's a real opportunity for some sort of, I'd be happy to participate in writing a grant if we could identify the right opportunity for that. A planning grant.
Right. I mean, I live next to a construction project that's been going on for quite a while. And of course, it always impresses me in a negative way of how much wood waste that comes out of there. That is, pieces that can't practically be used. Cut off ends of various things, and a 20-foot long strip of lumber that's half an inch thick, and just to make it fit. So certainly there's opportunities. The challenge, as you mentioned, David, is how to collect it in one place and be able to deal with it economically. So I'm going to mention that I mean, we are going to talk about the C&D, as they call it, the construction and demolition side of waste in Columbia County in the planning process for our county government handling of those things, but certainly would be running parallel to whatever can be thought of as a partnership of private businesses as well as the government. So that's something worth looking into. So that was my agenda for this evening. Is there anything else that people would like to bring up or mention? Certainly welcome comments.
I think Stephen has his hand up.
Stephen? Or,
Sorry, I was trying to find the unmute button. That didn't help.
there you go.
So I just wanted to alert you guys. I did send an email around to the group. There was a job posting through the DEC for a climate planning position that's based out of New Paltz. I read through the details and thought that it sounded like something that would apply to either some of you or to somebody you know in the climate planning community. So please check your spam folders. The second thing, and this is something just that came to my mind, David, as you were talking. The college 2 years ago started a construction technology program, and we have a brand new building on campus, and inside of which each year the students in that program literally build a small house, and then all of that wood and all that material has to be disposed of at the end of the year, because you can't just leave this little house there. You have to have the next group of students come in and build their own house so they learn how to do it. So it would be, as we move, if we move forward on any sort of idea of using, of kind of putting construction technology, construction materials in a different waste stream, please keep us in mind, because I think, we generate that as part of the programming at the college. And certainly it would be nice to have that be not just plain old waste that has to be disposed of, but something that could be useful. I don't know how much of it is pressure treated, to be honest, but I was over there, and I was over there in the building, and I was really impressed with all the stuff that we can teach the students. But the person who was running the program at the time a couple of years ago said, well, we got all this waste now, and unfortunately that's just part of a construction technology program.
Just put the house on a trailer and move it someplace?
It is not it's not built to be lived in. It's built to teach technique. And so it's not built to code. I'll put it, well, it's the most it could be is an outhouse. But it's, I guess the easiest way to say is it looks like somebody tried to build 2 or 3 sheds and never quite finished all the walls.
Okay, because you finish with a given technique and you move on.
Yeah.
Steve, it's Larry Kadish. I know the new instructor in that course, and he is actively trying to find places, including Habitat for Humanity, people that would use some of the products. So he's well aware of the issue.
That's great. The previous person I spoke to, the previous instructor, I don't know if he was trying to make those connections. So I'm happy to hear the new instructor's doing so. That's awesome.
All right. Well, good. The other thing I wanted to remind people of is the NYSACC conference, which is the New York State Association of Conservation Commissions, that is coming up. You all should have received an email that I passed around. That's October 21st through 24th. It's got a lot of things in it that is happening from morning till night, so you can tune in when you want to and not when you don't. It's free, and getting involved in it, you can look at the agenda and say, which particular workshops that you'd like to participate in. So if you haven't thought about how you might plug into that, I would encourage you to do so. I've been to several past annual conferences of this organization, and it's a bunch of really good material, sharp people, and I think that you would enjoy and benefit from participating in it if you can. So anybody that didn't or don't remember receiving one of those emails, they should have come from Simon Skolnick, the president of the organization, and just let me know, and we'll make sure you get a copy of it. So, if we have no other conversation tonight, I'm going to thank you for your participation.
There's two hands up. Sarah and David have
Sarah.
their hands up.
I had one more.
I don't see the hands from my sit. Well, go ahead. Oh, there we go. Mhm.
Well, my hand was up for actually the same thing, Michael, you just mentioned, the New York State ACC conference, which I'll put an additional plug. I'm on a panel. So I'll be speaking, I think, on Saturday, but it's unfortunately the same day as the Repair Cafe.
Ah, okay. I'm on a panel as well. So.
Oh, good. When are you on it? Which one are you on?
Coastal flooding, and actually, I forget what time it is. I better look that up.
Well, I have to prepare a presentation, so.
Exactly.
All right. But that was it.
Okay. Well, thanks for your chiming in there. All right. So thanks everybody, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right.
I'll second that.
Okay. And hearing no objection, I'll declare us adjourned. Thanks everybody. Bye bye now.
Thank you.
John, was that you that made the motion to approve the adjournment?
I did, and somebody else.
Okay. Thank
I don't know
God.
who the
Sarah.
other one was. Okay,
We're good. Thank you.
sure.
Thank you, everybody.